What is cancer? Hello? This is the Health Digest channel. We always produce videos for your health management with information from Korean health management specialists and researchers in related fields. Are there any who haven't subscribed yet? Please subscribe and like right now. And please share it with your loved ones so that we can all live healthy lives. The number one cause of death in Korea is cancer. According to data released by Statistics Korea in September 2022, cancer-related deaths accounted for 26% of all deaths. 1 in 4 Koreans loses their lives to cancer. It's a scary reality. What should we do? Can't we prevent cancer? We looked for a way. What is cancer? Healthy cells grow and divide to continuously create new cells. It is normal for aged or damaged cells to die and new cells enter the empty space. Sometimes abnormal cells do not die and disappear, but continue to create cells and form a tumor, which is called a tumor. Tumors are largely divided into 2 types. There are benign tumors that do not invade adjacent cells and stay in one place and grow slowly, and malignant tumors that invade adjacent cells and grow relatively quickly. The characteristic of malignant tumors is that they spread to distant places through blood vessels or lymph nodes, and such malignant tumors are called cancer. What causes cancer? The causes of cancer include genetics, lifestyle, and environmental factors. We usually think of cancer as genetics, but in fact, only 5 to 10% of all cancers are caused by genetics. Therefore, more than 90% of cancer causes are due to lifestyle and environment, so they can be prevented. According to a recent report published in the renowned medical journal Lancet in 2022, controlling alcohol, smoking, being overweight, and eating habits, reducing the intake of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, or increasing the intake of red meat and processed meat that increase the risk of cancer are the most important cancer prevention methods that individuals can do. The easiest and most effective way to prevent cancer is managing eating habits. Lung cancer caused by smoking and liver cancer caused by alcohol are already well known, but many people may be hearing for the first time that meat is bad for them. Since many Koreans think of meat as a health supplement, it is natural to wonder, meat is bad for your health? What does that mean? People really like meat. There are even many who say, I can't live without meat. I used to really like meat. Of course, there were times when I grew up in a poor family and it was hard to see meat, but as Korean society developed, meat became a common food, so I enjoyed eating it at various meals. Koreans' love of meat is extraordinary. As you can see from the saying, eat meat to gain strength. Their obsession with meat runs deep. It is presumed to be a compensation psychology for the times when there were few opportunities to eat meat throughout the year. Even today, when meat consumption is incomparably higher than in the past, meat is considered delicious, healthy, or a symbol of wealth, so people crave meat to the point where they feel sad if there is no meat side dish. Since the 2000s, Koreans' meat consumption has been increasing while rice consumption has been decreasing. In 2020, the annual meat consumption per person, beef, pork, chicken, was 53.7 kilograms, approaching the rice consumption of 57.7 kilograms. In 2022, Korean staple food finally changed to meat. The annual meat consumption per person was 58.4 kilograms, exceeding the rice consumption of 56.7 kilograms. In the days when agriculture was the main focus, our ancestors ate high-quality rice to gain the strength to go out to the fields and work. There was even a saying that we live on rice, but this is now a thing of the past. With the wave of westernization, Koreans' eating habits have completely changed, and now they eat more meat than rice. Is it good to eat this much meat? No. In fact, meat is a carcinogen. On October 26, 2015, the World Health Organization, WHO, classified processed meats such as ham and sausages as Group 1 carcinogens, with a high risk of carcinogenesis, like cigarettes, and classified red meats such as beef and pork as Group 2A carcinogens, with a high risk of carcinogenesis, announcing that their consumption increases the incidence of colon, pancreatic, and prostate cancers. In 2021, Harvard Medical School in the United States conducted a meta-analysis of 148 papers on meat and cancer occurrence and concluded that consuming a lot of red meat or processed meat increases various cancers, various cancer increase rates, breast cancer 9%, endometrial cancer 25%, colon cancer 21%, rectal cancer 26%, lung cancer 20%, kidney cancer 19%, liver cancer 22%. In a large-scale study conducted in the UK on approximately 28,000 cancer patients, consuming more than 50 g of red meat per day increased the incidence of colon cancer by 36%. When processed meat is consumed in excess of 20 g per day, colorectal cancer increases by 26%. When poultry, chicken, duck, is consumed in excess of 30 g per day, lymph node and hematopoietic cell cancer increases by 17%, showing a close relationship between meat and cancer. In particular, the shocking result that Korea has the highest incidence of young colon cancer in the world was announced. According to a paper published in Lancet in 2022, the incidence of colon cancer in Koreans aged 20 to 49 was 12.9 per 100,000 people, the highest among the 42 countries surveyed. This is a higher figure than Australia, 11.2, or the United States, 10. From middle-aged to young people, Koreans have the highest incidence of colon cancer in the world. Generally, colon cancer mainly occurs after the age of 50, but young colon cancer refers to colon cancer that occurs under the age of 50. Western eating habits are cited as a cause of the increase in young colon cancer. Colon cancer is closely related to the consumption of red meat or processed meat, and the risk of colon cancer is bound to increase in young people who enjoy such meat-centered diets. The recurrence rate of colon cancer is 3 times higher in younger people, and the survival rate is also low, so caution is required. It is often said that red meat is harmful, but white meat, fish, chicken is okay. In fact, this is not true. According to a report by Loma Linda University in the United States, famous for longevity research, people who eat red meat more than once a week have about twice the frequency of colon cancer compared to those who do not eat it, and those who eat white meat more than once a week have about 3 times the frequency of colon cancer compared to those who do not eat it. White meats such as fish and chicken are also not safe from the risk of colon cancer. Why does meat cause cancer? When beef or other red meat is cooked at high temperatures or comes into direct contact with fire, such as when barbecued, the heme iron contained in the meat changes into powerful carcinogens called N-nitroso compounds or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Sodium nitrite or nitrite added as a food preservative to processed meats such as ham or sausage also become carcinogens called nitrosamines when they enter the human body. There are also hormones that promote cancer development. These are normal human hormones that are mainly produced in liver cells according to the signal of growth hormone secreted from the pituitary gland. This hormone has the effect of promoting the growth of all cells, including bones, muscles, and nerves, throughout the body, and plays an important role in the growth of children. This hormone gradually decreases with age, but it is good to maintain an appropriate level of IGF-1 concentration in order to maintain a healthy body. However, IGF-1 is a double-edged sword. An appropriate amount of IGF-1 helps normal cells grow and repair damaged cells, but a high concentration of IGF-1 helps tumor cells proliferate. There is a substance that promotes the secretion of IGF-1. When protein enters the body, the liver secretes IGF-1. This sends a signal to start cell growth work because the material to create cells has arrived. In the growth period, such as in children and adolescents, cell growth is essential, but for adults, protein is sufficient for cell maintenance and repair rather than cell growth, so protein is not needed that much. Nevertheless, when protein is consumed excessively, the liver produces more IGF-1, and more IGF-1 promotes the growth of not only normal cells, but also abnormal cells. If you are unlucky, cancer cells may be included among them. Of course, protein is an essential substance for our bodies. However, the type of protein is important. IGF-1 levels are not proportional to the total amount of protein, but to the amount of animal protein consumed. It is presumed that the reason animal protein promotes the secretion of IGF-1 is because the amino acid composition ratio of animal protein is similar to that of the human body. We generally look for animal protein as a high-quality protein, but ironically, from the perspective of cancer occurrence, high-quality protein makes cancer more likely to occur. According to the results of a study on the blood IGF-1 1 levels of 292 adult women according to their eating habits. Animal protein increased IGF 1 levels, but vegetable protein actually lowered IGF 1 levels. Therefore, vegetarians have lower IGF 1 levels than meat eaters, which suppresses the occurrence of cancer. Prostate cancer is closely related to IGF 1 concentration. When prostate cancer patients were made to eat a vegetarian diet for 11 days, their IGF 1 levels decreased by 20% and cancer cell growth stopped. Dr. Dean Ornish, famous for being the personal physician who cured U.S. President Clinton of his heart disease with a vegetarian diet, divided 93 prostate cancer patients into two groups, 44 vegetarians and 49 control groups, and observed the PSA, prostate-specific antigen, levels and cancer cell proliferation under a microscope for 1 year. As a result, the PSA levels and cancer cells in the vegetarian group significantly decreased. There is a medical term called apoptosis. Normal cells die on their own when their lifespan ends. This phenomenon is called apoptosis. This phenomenon, also called programmed cell death, is a mechanism by which aged cells or cells with damaged genes die on their own to maintain a healthy human body. However, high IGF-1 concentrations interfere with this process, causing cells that should die to continue to grow instead of dying. This is what causes tumors and cancer. There is also a surprising report that when breast cancer patients were put on a vegetarian diet, cancer cell death, apoptosis, increased by 20 to 30% in just 2 weeks. This is a phenomenon that occurs when IGF-1 concentrations drop. The more meat you eat, the higher your risk of developing cancer. A study was conducted at the University of Southern California in the United States, dividing approximately 6,000 people aged 50 to 65 into 3 groups based on their protein intake. In a large-scale study that followed up for about 18 years, dividing people into high-protein groups, over 20% of daily calorie intake from protein, medium protein groups, 10 to 19%, and low-protein groups, less than 10%, the high-protein group was 4 times more likely to die from cancer than the low-protein group, and the medium-protein group was 3 times more likely to die from cancer than the low-protein group. When this paper was published, the United States, which has the highest meat consumption in the world, was shocked. Media outlets such as Fox News and CBS News made headlines that Americans who eat a lot of protein-rich foods such as hamburgers, hot dogs, bacon, eggs, meat, chicken, milk, and cheese every day increase their risk of dying from cancer just as much as smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. The research team pointed to IGF-1, which increases with protein intake, as the reason for the difference in cancer mortality rates, and the group that consumed 9 to 10% of protein was safe from the risk of cancer. This means 0.8 g of protein intake per 1 kilogram of body weight, which is the recommended daily allowance, RDA, set by the WHO. For someone weighing 60 kilograms, it is 48 g per day. Professor Valter Longo of the University of Southern California Longevity Center said that avoiding more than 0.8 g of protein intake per body weight per day and consuming protein from plant sources as much as possible is the best way to prevent cancer. For reference, half a whole chicken, which is commonly eaten, contains 40 g of protein, and 1 chicken breast, 100 g, contains 23 g of protein, so it is easy to consume too much animal protein. On the other hand, brown rice contains 9 g of protein per 100 g, soybeans contain 38 g of protein per 100 g, and half a block of tofu, 150 g, contains 14 g of protein, so you can consume enough protein even on a vegetarian diet. Cancers that are closely related to increased IGF-1 due to excessive intake of animal protein are colon cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. In Korea, not only colon cancer but also prostate cancer and breast cancer are rapidly increasing. Westernized eating habits are known to be the main cause of these cancers. In a society that recommends protein, what are our choices? There is a protein craze in Korea these days. Many people eat meat, fish, eggs, milk, and cheese every day to supplement their protein. However, ironically, the protein contained in these animal products is the cause of cancer. From the early 1980s, for about 20 years, Colin Campbell, a professor of nutrition at Cornell University in the United States, conducted a joint survey with Oxford University in the United Kingdom on the mortality rates of 12 types of cancer in 2,400 regions in China and 880 million people, which is 96% of the entire Chinese population. It was an unprecedentedly large study with 650,000 participants. The results were surprising. The regional differences in major cancers were as much as 100 times. Dr. Campbell assumed that the Chinese people are genetically identical, so the cause of such a large difference is acquired factors. Why do some parts of China have a high incidence of cancer? Why is the incidence of cancer significantly higher in the United States than in China? He published the results of his research in a book titled The China Study, Korean version, What to Eat, in 2007, and the New York Times called this book the most extensive and meticulous Grand Prix of epidemiology in history, reporting it as the most important achievement in revealing the relationship between eating habits and disease. The gist of the book is this. Americans, who have a high incidence of cancer, consume 15 to 16% of their total calories as protein, most of which comes from animal products. In rural China, where the incidence of cancer is low, only 9 to 10% of their total calories are protein, most of which comes from plant products. Humans need to consume about 5 to 6% of their total calories as protein. Protein intake of less than 10% is not a problem, but protein intake of more than 10% causes health problems. When protein intake is high, cancer incidence increases, and protein acts as a cancer incidence switch that turns cancer incidence on and off. Interestingly, vegetable protein did not cause cancer, while animal protein did. Therefore, the key to cancer prevention is to reduce animal protein intake. Those who are interested in health and have studied various things will suddenly feel confused. This is because all existing information suggests higher protein intake. In the US, protein intake is 10 to 35% of total energy, and in Korea, it is slightly less, 7 to 20%. Even though there are many reports that protein intake exceeding 10% causes cancer, why are the government and academics recommending such high amounts? This is because the enormous interests of the government, academia, and related industries surrounding diet are intricately intertwined. Walter Willett, a nutrition professor at Harvard Medical School, criticized that the USDA's dietary guidelines are heavily influenced by the food industry and do not adopt scientific truth, which can harm the health of Americans. When it comes to health and nutrition, everyone thinks of protein and thinks of meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and milk. People who are brainwashed by marketing mistake the unscientific nonsense that carbohydrates are the enemy and protein is the friend as truth. So the protein industry has become a goose that lays golden eggs, and various protein advertisements come out every day to encourage people to consume more protein. However, our bodies do not need that much protein. Rather, when excessive protein intake is broken down, toxic substances such as ammonia and uric acid are produced, which gradually damage the kidneys and cause various chronic diseases, including cancer. You can easily obtain protein even if you do not eat animal products. Even vegans consume more than 50% of the recommended daily protein intake. You should consume less than 10% of your total calories as protein. If you eat brown rice as your staple food, 8% is protein, so you don't need additional protein. If you mix some beans into brown rice and eat only various vegetables and side dishes, you will never lack protein. If you want to be healthy, you must first change the food you eat. High-protein meals cause cancer. Check what you are eating now. Was today's content helpful? Don't forget to subscribe and like, and be sure to click all of them right now. I will come back next time with more useful content with useful information from Korean health management experts. Thank you for watching.